Hello little people, Weston here, about to start playing the third episode of Life is Strange Before the Storm. As usual, I've done a decent bit of thinking, and I've done a bit of research before starting up this episode. I have read The Tempest, finally. Now I presume this might be a signed reading for quite a few people out there in the Anglosphere, but for me it was new. However, I am reasonably pleased with having acquainted myself with it. I expected it to clarify a couple of things, and it doesn't necessarily. There are bits and pieces, but those bits and pieces largely map onto what we have already seen in the game. Some things, however, do stand out. On one hand, the names of the episodes. For instance, the second episode is called A Brave New World. It's called Brave New World, I believe. And a less observant observer, yes, someone else might look at this and figure quite naturally and quite logically, oh, Huxley, right? Brave New World? But no, no. Not exactly. At least that's not the impression I get. Overwhelmingly, I get the impression that I'm just, that I'm on the cusp, I'm on the lowest rung of whatever I attempt. That is, the sort of person who would not pay much attention whatsoever, would presumably just miss out on the entire thing, but any person who would pay a sufficient amount of attention would notice these things and would consider them trivial. Whereas here I am, suspended somewhere in between, and treat these things as a revelation, even though to anyone willing to actually look at them, it may be an utter triviality. The achievement you get for beating the second episode is called Oh Wonder. A further hint, you have a bit of dialogue in The Tempest, where Miranda says, "Oh, wonder how many goodly creatures are there here. How beauteous mankind is, oh brave new world that has such people in it." And Prospero answers, "'Tis new to thee." Makes perfect logical sense. Makes perfect logical sense. It's the part where Miranda wonders, marvels at all these people, having not seen too many people in her lifetime. Makes perfect sense. We spend the second episode, meeting all of these wonderful people, all these strange and wonderful, sometimes wonderful people. Great. Yeah, that doesn't tell us all that much. Now, of course, the third episode is called Hell is Empty. Hell is empty and all the devils are here. This has been a part of the script. I would love to think that we can fight fate, but I don't know. Consider Samantha. We've sent Samantha into the willing embrace of Nathan Prescott. Now, as I have previously stated, if a single thing falls, if we can ruin any one of the things that were instrumental in kicking off the plot of the original game, then we prevent the plot of the original game. Any of a number of things. Jefferson not being there, Nathan Prescott not doing what Nathan Prescott did, almost anything going differently is going to derail the entire plot. But I don't think we can do that. I had my desperate hopes, but I don't think it's gonna happen. I think we are on a completely hopeless collision course, and fate will have her last word. Let's see. Maybe I should have organized this a bit better. Maybe I... Alright, let's finish this thought first, then I'll go back to The Tempest. It also occurred to me that, well, that's fairly tragic, isn't it? Both for Rachel Amber and, on the other hand, for, of course, our beloved protagonist, Chloe Price. Beloved? Well, relatively beloved, I guess. Well, for Chloe Price, anyway. I looked at this and figured, oh my goodness, well, what can I do? What can I do then? All of this is meaningless. It's meaningless in the end. It is ultimately meaningless because all we can secure, at best, is a few moments of solace. A temporary respite. She was in a horrible, dreadful spot to begin with, and she will be in one further down the line, eventually dying. And all we can possibly give her, all we have to offer There's a tiny bit of excitement, adventure, and temporary happiness, and that's it. And then it dawned on me, that's all we can ever get. Isn't it? That's all we can possibly get. A bit of temporary excitement and happiness until our inevitable demise. That's all we ever have. There's nothing else. So it's not like this is particularly, well, out of the ordinary, isn't it? It's just that we know when she dies and how she dies. Is that more tragic necessarily? You could easily argue that she dies before her time. But then again, with fate's hand the way it is, that is her time. You could, of course, logically argue that she died young. She could have lived longer, so yes, this is reasonably unusual. In that sense, it's meaningful. In the same sense that it can be a bit flippant to argue that ultimately, if there's a man out there drowning, you don't save him, you delay his death. You don't save his life. He's gonna die anyway, at some point, because he's a mortal man. But from an existentialist point of view, you could look at it in that flippant way, say, well, you've just delayed his death. In some way, we consider that meaningful, I guess. In some way, altering the course of history to buy people this bit of time is something we consider valuable and good. Because we consider existence itself to be reasonably valuable and good. Now, some people are unwilling to accept that some limits may be put on that, and well, and that's another discussion entirely. That's really complicated. So maybe there is some point to what I'm doing. Although, as I have mentioned, it feels hopeless. It feels really sad. As far as the play is concerned, a couple of things of note. Caliban is a horrible, disgusting creature. An unfortunate one as well. He is spiteful, mean-spirited, etc., but then again, he is also treated exceedingly poorly and has basically no perspectives most of the time. Now, he does get enslaved and treated exceedingly poorly, mostly because he tries to rape Miranda. So there's that. That's not particularly meaningful, but, well, noting this sort of proclivity makes a decent bit of sense. We're talking about a character played by Nathan Prescott. Caliban is also instrumental in a plot to assassinate Prospero. Prospero being played over here by Rachel Amber. Now, of course, in Life is Strange, there was no plot. He didn't want to kill her at any point. Things just got out of hand. Unfortunately. As I think they ultimately will. So there's that, there's the role of Caliban. There's also Prospero and Ariel, both men in the play. Doesn't necessarily matter all too much. But yes, Ariel was this sort of a spirit, sprite, pixie, whatever you want to call it. And, well, ultimately freed by Prospero, still in a way got enslaved by him. With a promise that he'll be freed, and he did originally in the play get freed in the end. And Prospero did mention that he's gonna miss him. But still, being the spirit that he was, it was just considered gracious of Prospero that he was treating him reasonably well, that he freed him to begin with, and that he was willing to ultimately put a definite end to his services at some point. Nevertheless, he did ultimately, upon freeing the sprite, freeing the spirit, immediately enslave that spirit to do his bidding. Now, Ariel was, as far as I can tell, his most powerful and the most faithful servant. Most obedient and loving. Nonetheless, it was a servant, a slave. There's a bit of an alteration as far as the play is concerned, as far as what has happened between Rachel and Chloe on stage. That suggests a bit of a shift as far as that's concerned. Though, once again, that somewhat concerns me. Chloe has laid her heart at Rachel Amber's feet. And we know who Rachel Amber is to a certain extent. She's narcissistic and manipulative. That could be somewhat unfair, possibly, but I think I'm on the right track at the very least as far as that intuition is concerned. So, there's horrible potential for abuse. Once you lay bare what it is that you feel, well, she can do with that whatever she pleases. She could have possibly abused that to her advantage. In fact, we can't necessarily say that she doesn't or wouldn't. Precisely because, once again, she doesn't use false openly. She manipulates people. She pretends all sorts of things. That's the way she does things most of the time. And yet, as we look at the very tail end of the second episode, you will note that she seemed genuine. She really wanted to be with Chloe. She really wanted to elope with her. And, well, there was the outburst at the dinner table, which wasn't particularly manipulative and pre-planned. It was an act of open rebellion, which is something I appreciate, I guess, as myself. But then again, I was also really desperate as Chloe Price to really try to keep the peace and not have things escalate unnecessarily. And then again, as me, I kinda had the intuition that they got it all wrong, and as far as I can tell, they absolutely did. Who is Rachel Amber? Some questions still remain, and some events have not yet unfolded. We know next to nothing about the lighthouse, or how this magic works, although, if you look at the circumstances, if you look at all the tiny hints at all the bizarre happenings, you will note that they are tied to Rachel. The enormous blaze seems perfectly natural. It all did, well, it didn't go up in flames necessarily, but she did start the fire. However, if you remember her scream, there was something supernatural to it. You could hear it. It wasn't just something out of the ordinary. It wasn't something ordinary, it was out of the ordinary, outside of the ordinary. And then there was the snow, which, as far as I understand it, put out the flames. So you can see this charred landscape. And when did that happen? Oh, after the kiss. Maybe that soothed her to some extent. For all we know, all of these grand-scale events are tied to what is happening within her. All of this is tied to Rachel Amber, which seems to suggest that the original storm, that tempest, may have been tied to her. Now, was it tied in some way to Chloe Price? I don't think so. I really don't get that impression necessarily. We've seen all sorts of things. I get it that Chloe Price is an immortal, and I get it that we have seen all sorts of things in Life is Strange. We've seen her die, etc. I mean, we've seen her get shot, and all these sorts of things, and we've seen her experience all sorts of emotions, and that didn't necessarily seem to, in any immediate and direct way, affect what is going on beyond her puny little human capacity. Which leads me further and further to believe that there's something about Rachel Amber, rather than Chloe Price, that affects the universe, or at the very least this locale, Arcadia Bay, in some utterly inexplicable way. Maybe it's the ancient Indian burial ground. She seems to have this sort of a feather earring. Maybe she's of the so-called Native American heritage, a descendant of the Indians. I don't know, we don't necessarily know what on earth happened there. We don't know who Sarah is necessarily, although we will find out soon enough, I believe. Possibly will try to get away, possibly she will go missing now. I can't remember for how long she's been gone. If it has been 3 years, well, then she's about to go missing. I know there's a bonus episode. I think that's the one where she goes missing, or something along those lines. Maybe it's the one where Actually, if I were to guess, I'd figure that this is the one where she ultimately goes missing, and the next one is where Chloe Price tries to cope with the entire situation. Well, the final few bits and pieces fall into place, and well, she changes her attire to what we see at the very beginning of the original game, and that's it. But enough with the speculation, enough with the rampant speculation that I love oh so much. Was there anything else I wanted to say about the play? The play? No, I think I've got everything covered. Ah, yes, well, with the possible exception that that there's Hayden and Dana. Yeah, in the roles of Ferdinand and Miranda makes perfect logical sense. We see them as a couple further down the line. Right. Hell is empty, and all the devils are here. Lay it on me.
Previously on Life is Strange.
I've
Before the Storm.
recapped everything.
I felt like my dad's been lying about something for a while. I didn't know what it was.
There is plenty of blame to go around.
What does that mean?
You forced my hand. This is a consequence of your actions, Chloe.
We both agree that the best thing for everyone at this stage is for me to move in.
In a million years, I never thought you'd choose David over me.
Hey!
Blackwell's done with me. I can't go home anymore. Is this junkyard all I've got left?
Drew runs Oxy for Damon. Go to Drew's room, find the money, and I'll meet you to pick it up.
Whatever you do, don't open the door.
Oh, I want my fucking money!
Juliet is waylaid. That infernal Inferno is the culprit, closing down the roads and robbing us of our Ariel.
No fucking chance.
I swear to thee, we shall fly beyond this isle. The corners of the world are mere prologue. What sayest thou to my most hopeful wish?
Yes. Let's leave. For real. If you don't mean this, it's just making me feel like shit that this life you're describing isn't going to happen. What would it take to convince you?
Why can't you just tell me the fucking truth?
Rachel, that woman you saw, that wasn't my mistress. That was your mother.
Will we continue from this point on? Or is there a time skipping? What? Please do as few stupid things as you can. Where are we?
I want to tell you all of it.
Okay, there we go.
But are you sure that Chloe should be here for...
Chloe stays.
Thank you.
Of course. In every way that matters, Rose is my wife and your mother. But the woman you saw at the Overlook, her name is Sarah, your birth mother. I'm going to tell you everything, Rachel. Everything I've shielded you from for so long. But the truth can be hard to look at. Is this really something you're ready for?
Do it.
Chloe.
Wow. She needs me. I could hypothetically just let her experience this for herself. But she wants me to be there for her in this time of need and learn this alongside her, and I'm going to be here for her. And of course I was wondering, well, even if we were to get the choice, which obviously we're not going to, should we choose the truth? We will choose the truth. We obviously will choose the truth. Rather than what? bliss, momentarily though it may be. No, let's confront what is there instead of running away from it. How about that? We have decided on such a stupid cause of running away, haven't we? But no, how about we actually confront our fears, confront the past, deal with everything? I believe this is the way to do it. And if they were to actually do it, maybe all of this could have been prevented. But it's not going to, is it? I'm here.
I'm right here. Good. I need you.
Oh, sorry.
800 DPI.
Yeah, I need to lower the DPI so I can turn at sensible angles. I'm right here. Why on earth would you give me a tutorial every single time? I mean, what Maverick would play episode 3 without playing episode 1 or 2? So anything else we can look at now?
When I was in high school, there was one person everyone adored.
Oh, I see.
Her teachers, her friends. Sarah was everyone's favorite.
Great.
Every boy wanted to date her.
Much like Rachel Amber.
I could barely believe it when she picked me. Sometimes, I think that's what kept me blind for so long.
Guess the other guys were so lucky. We can look at the previous bit again. Can we re-examine it, get another perspective, or will we just get a repeat?
She was so beautiful, just like you.
Just like you.
She was so beautiful, just like you.
And she was trouble, just like you, Rachel.
She was so alive, so passionate about everything. Early on, though, I realized I wasn't enough for her.
That doesn't bode well.
While the rest of us were pursuing college, careers, families.
Yes.
Sarah wasn't looking for any of that. She was looking for escape.
Oh no. Oh no. I mean, there are numerous ways you can look at this, I guess, but is this about the willing adoption of responsibility? Is this about facing reality and, I guess... Is this really the way to go? Or is this just refusing to abdicate freedom?
I only saw what I wanted to see. Until it was almost too late. I only saw what I wanted to see. Until it was almost too late.
Where is the line? Or is it just a matter of perspective between a stubborn refusal to move on, or mature on one hand and on the other? And on the other, I guess, a stubborn refusal to just become stuck, set in your ways, and ultimately kind of lost. As you give up on, well, everything life has to offer.
When Sarah became pregnant, I thought it would solve everything.
It never does, people.
And it did. For a little while. Becoming your father is the greatest moment of my life. There was so much love, but I was still blind.
I mean, to an extent, I think we all know where this goes, right? She doesn't want to give up on her life. She wants to live it to the fullest. She doesn't want to get tied down. She wants to party and do drugs.
This all feels like someone else's life.
Whatever happens, Rachel, I'm here.
When you look at it, doesn't she ultimately die because she abandons Chloe Price? Doesn't she? There's all of this business with Frank, with Jefferson. There's plenty of horrible stuff out there. Now, I get it. I understand all the other things around all of this. But if she were to just stick with Chloe Price, of all people, maybe that way she could have been saved. Maybe that way she can be saved? She can't be saved, can she?
However much she loved you then, it wasn't enough. For Sarah, the need to escape was always there.
No, I mean, it's so
Over a
obvious.
year, I tried to help her. I made myself believe that she was still a good person. That no matter what happened, she would never do anything to hurt you.
I'm sorry, what? You put it that way, abandoning her sounds like...
I was wrong. Eventually, I saw her for who she really was. A destructive person. Someone who could never be satisfied. Anyone or anything. Even the love of her own daughter. I was desperate. I didn't know what to do. So I made a choice. I was never going to let her harm you again.
Well, fancy that. I knew something was up, and of course we got the exact wrong impression, right? Well, not necessarily... It's not necessarily that I did. But yeah, the overwhelming impression was, at least for Chloe and Rachel, that he was the scumbag. Ah, but she trusted him so much and he betrayed her trust. No, he didn't. No, he didn't. His entire life, as far as I understand it, he was trying to protect her, shield her, and take care of her. Every single step of the way. Even when he was suspicious of Chloe Price, etc., he really was doing all of this just to keep Rachel safe, just to help. And, well, guess what? She resented all of this nonsense. Well, she resented all of this in a way that's nonsensical, I guess. So why would you reunite then? Oh, what? Did she come back into his life with purpose? No, I will do better, but I need to see my daughter. I have no idea. Well, how about we just find out? Oh, but there are so many, but I love to speculate so much. And once again, I want to tie it all back to the magical powers. But then again, there's so much human element in all of this. As much as we are led to believe quite neatly for a decent while from start to finish in the previous game and this one that quite a few vices here and there are quite innocent and it's okay to indulge in them. Well, I guess you can certainly at the very least cross the line. Just like I've mentioned about recreational drug use, okay? Can it ever stop being recreational, become abusive? Is the notion of addiction something that can ever enter our vocabulary, or should we just figure, hey, people should be free to do what they want to do and we shouldn't figure we need to intervene, we shouldn't judge them, etc.? I think there might be some sort of line. But then again, of course, you could hypothetically look down on any sort of indulgence whatsoever, and that's not something I can get behind either. And I guess these days I'm not blind enough to be unwilling to see that. Any sort of indulgence out there could be viewed as destructive, excessive, whatever. And if we are to forsake all of that, what exactly does possibly bring any positive thing into our lives? If we are to just bring it down to completely utilitarian pursuits, our lives become utterly pointless. Because all they have, ultimately, is the capacity to, well, to allow them to continue but not flourish in any sort of way. If we figure that we only should focus on things that serve other purposes, well, what are we serving in the end? As in, there are these sorts of things people usually find unobjectionable, I don't know, work and earning money. Okay, what are you gonna do with all of that? Most of the time we assume that you are going to do something, and that's fair enough. But if we don't, well, clearly that's a pursuit that should be done in the name of something. Usually people say you should work to live, not the other way around. And therefore we arrive at the conclusion that some ends are ultimately terminal. You have things that are, as we say, autotelic. That is, they are done for their own sake. I'm not playing video games because I want to achieve anything else. Or if you look at autotelic things, you could say, well, we're not doing them for their own sake, we're doing them because we want to be happy, because it brings us enjoyment, whatever. Doesn't matter. You can elide that and it amounts to the same thing. So there are these autotelic goals out there. And I guess you can view drugs in this way. And once again, to a certain extent, I absolutely sympathize with this desire not to get tied down by reality, with this rejection. On one hand, I understand the objections, how this can be pathological, although the sort of people most eager to condemn this sort of thing are the sort of people I wouldn't necessarily see eye to eye with on any sort of subject. So quite naturally, I am going to reject that notion. Unless I really, really am perfectly honest with myself and with the world. The notion that you should ultimately burden yourself and tie yourself down in some capacity. But it's quite clear to me that that shouldn't be done excessively. Because once again, if you just burden yourself with nothing else, well then, your life is not strange at that point. Your life is just filled with suffering and with arduous duties with absolutely no payoff. All you could hypothetically find the minimal sort of payoff imaginable just to keep you going. But what's the point then? I guess this could be a sensible way to look at things if you think in collectivistic terms, if the only achievements you perceive are in terms of multiple people, or whatever groups you fancy seeing as the ones that actually matter instead of the individuals, which, once again, makes some degree of sense, but is really distasteful from my point of view. The point of view of an individualist. Let's, however, progress with the story.
What you saw at the Overlook, Rachel, it was true. We kissed. It was the saddest kiss of my life.
Do tell.
It was a kiss goodbye.
What?
I told her that I was happy for her. That she felt like she'd gotten her life together. Finally. But she didn't get to just decide one day to be a mother. Not after what she'd done.
Wait.
Not after all the people she hurt.
Wait a minute.
All the lives she destroyed. I told her she'd been given the greatest gift in the world. The chance to be your mother. And she squandered it.
She wanted to... Oh no, she wanted to change things. She wanted to...
It pained me to hurt her like that. But I'd do it again, and again, and again, to keep you safe.
You say safe, but did she actually hurt her or just abandon her? Did she hurt her in a meaningful way? In some drastic way? Hold her damn hand firmly.
So that was the first time you've seen her or spoken with her in 15 years?
No. I send her money. Every single month. It's our arrangement.
But now, she wants to see me?
Yes. But Rachel, it cannot be.
Why? Why not? Indeed. Well, we don't have much of an option to just agree with him. We can only disagree with him. We just get to pick the way. And it does make perfect sense. Well, maybe I am growing more and more convinced that that's the homeless woman we see out there. Interesting. I don't know what to make of it. Is it the homeless woman behind the diner that we see? I don't know. I mean, who says it's yours? That's not necessarily the way to argue about this, although I understand. It allows for easy answers that will be difficult to argue against, so let's not afford him that opportunity.
Why not? If that's what Rachel wants.
Drug addiction is a disease. It afflicts everyone, not just the addict. I will not allow you to be victimized by her disease again.
And by extension...
Even if that's true, Rachel could still meet her.
And maybe the fact that she wants to see me means she's gotten better.
Maybe.
Maybe so. But consider that for 15 years, she's preferred that money to you.
Rachel.
I think I need to lie down.
Well, that puts Chloe in an interesting position, doesn't it? And it makes it all the more understandable that he would be distrustful of, Chloe being a drug user. I think it's time for us to leave. Well, be honest with the guy if we possibly can. Rachel, Chloe, where are you guys? We're at the Tempest Cast party. I already texted Rachel like 8 times. Hey, I don't think we're making it. Chloe, you should come. Hey, Chloe, you did awesome, babe. Hey, Chloe, great job tonight. Thanks. I can't. But you were amazing. I'll even admit that Mr. Kitten seemed a little disappointed when I arrived. Seriously, just come. Bring Rachel. Sorry, guys. I don't think she's going to be in the mood for this. Although, hey, I guess Chloe could... Was she gonna crash at the place? I have no idea. Land of the Freaks, torture sketch. What on earth is any of this? Daily dick pics. DA's desk? Unheeded warning? Yes, I have a bad feeling about this. And here is the final person revealed, Sarah. Well, let's read about her then. I don't know. I mean, I guess I've already said what is to be said, except Rachel, I haven't done it in a particularly organized fashion now, have I? If they are to meet, it should presumably in a really well-controlled environment under the supervision of her father, etc. So there's that. On one hand. On the other hand, of course, I don't necessarily think Chloe's influence is going to be that positive, and Chloe herself should probably show some restraint and avoid substance abuse. We know she doesn't, but it would be nice if she possibly could. That's not to say that I don't want her to be happy, because once again, if in most sorts of circumstances, just glibly suggesting that someone stop doing something is completely pointless, because that just leaves a void. It's not constructive to suggest that. A constructive thing to do would be to suggest something for a person to fill that with. But of course, when you suggest ditching something, you're mostly saying, well, I'm not going to tell you how to live your life. I'm just going to tell you how to not live your life. Don't think of the pink elephant. Brilliant. That really doesn't help. No, she would have to find something else to occupy herself with, something else that would bring her happiness. It's the only way. You don't ditch an addiction by emptying your life. If the only thing keeping you going is the addiction, getting rid of the addiction, as much as people may get the impression, doesn't improve your life in any capacity, not on its own. That should be obvious, but then again, it doesn't feel like the sort of thing that gets said. So maybe I'm horribly wrong, or I haven't heard of this insight, or maybe I am mildly insightful for once. But yes, if you take an addict for whom his addiction has, or her addiction has consumed his or her entire life, and remove the addiction, what is left is a gaping void, and that's not good. That is not particularly welcome. Yeah, I guess as it is said, that an alcoholic doesn't have a problem with alcohol. He's got a problem with literally everything else, but he doesn't have a problem with alcohol. He's got a solution in alcohol. Everything else is wrong. So you remove alcohol from the equation, and what does he have? Staring at the wall, all crying in a corner, huddled? Exactly what are you supposed to do? No. You need to look at everything else, and then piece by piece fix these things, and then add something else to fill the void, to remove an addiction. Otherwise, well, nothing's gonna take. I mean, that's technically not true. It's perfectly possible to just remove an addiction and just put someone in a completely crippling depression with a void that the person refuses to fill, and doesn't fill with an addiction. That's hell, but it can be done if someone is resilient enough, I guess. But what's the point? It could even be argued that addiction filling up that void might be a net positive, all things considered. Because at the very least, some of that suffering goes away if you add addiction. If you don't, all that's left is that horrifying void. So the only way for things to get better would be for Chloe Price to get her life together. Not to ditch the sort of things giving her temporary respite, but, you know, we need to add something, right? Possibly Rachel Amber. What can you say about a woman so mysterious? Her own daughter never heard of her until now. From what James told us, Sarah is a drug addict who got herself mixed up in all sorts of crazy shit. And by drugs, I mean OD and end up dead in an alleyway drugs. Not smoke a ball and watch anime. When Rachel was a baby, Sarah would get high when she was supposed to be looking after her. Things got so fucked up that James finally had to take Rachel away. The funny thing is, even as James talked about all the horrible things Sarah had done, he still seemed, I don't know, fixated, I guess. You could see the power she had over him. Actually, when he was talking about how beloved and magnetic Sarah used to be, I couldn't help think of Rachel. I wonder if James sees that too. I would presume so. Obviously, you get the same impression as far as Rachel is concerned, don't you? And I mean, isn't that, to a large extent, a summary of what I have said about Rachel Amber? She seems so wonderful, etc., but in the end, deep down, I think she is a horrible, destructive person. Oh, by the way, the problem with perception. I'm not sure I've mentioned that. all have mentioned that recently, but when people look at Rachel Amber, often enough, like, say, Principal Wells, they say, well, hold on, she couldn't have done this horrible thing. After all, she's so wonderful. And another way to look at it would be, hold on. Well, maybe you should look at all the horrible things she has done and adjust your belief that she's so wonderful, rather than looking at her being so wonderful as a belief you have, and then adjusting what you think of reality. And figuring, no. Clearly she could have done bad things. She couldn't have done bad things because she's great. We have a preconceived notion of that. Maybe it's what makes him so afraid of her. That also makes a decent degree of sense. Of course it makes a decent degree of sense. I mean, this is the woman he loved and had to tear himself away from. Here she is, waltzing back into his life. Being a responsible man, presumably he senses the potential threat in all of this. So the simplest way is to try to remove the temptation as much as humanly possible, and that's it. Otherwise, well, I mean, for all we know, it could lead down a reasonable path. For all we know, things could end up just fine. But if they don't, and if he goes down that path, well then, for him, Sarah would be his addiction, his vice. And that's the last thing he wants or needs. And if things were to go wrong, my goodness, would he then blame himself, presumably, wouldn't he? Anyway, now Sarah is in Arcadia Bay looking to meet Rachel. After years of taking James's money to stay away, suddenly she wants a relationship with her daughter. James seems skeptical, and Rachel can't even imagine what Rachel must be going through. Well, we. Think we've been through this. I think I've read this. Have I? Yes. Yes, I have. This is page 19. I think I have read this one. No, I have read this one, of course. This is the one about the kiss. Next time you hear from me, I'll be an ex-Arcadian. Well, that didn't quite pan out, now did it? Well, but I'm glad you had the opportunity to jot something down in your journal in the midst of all of this. Hold on, I need to take notes. Max, I used to think the strangest thing about the Ambers was how normal they were. They seemed like a bad 90s sitcom family, and I did my best to play the part of the wacky yet lovable best friend. I chatted with Rose, Rachel's surprisingly cool mom, and even helped her set the table. The goal was to get in and out of there without causing a scene, so we could make our escape. About that. It turns out Rachel couldn't sit back and let her cheating father act all high and mighty. I tried to distract her and remind her of our goal. It almost worked. Then Rachel snapped. I guess she just can't stand the lying anymore. She told her mom about James making out with that woman. Everyone started yelling, and the next thing I knew, Rachel was going full destruction on the table. That's when the truth finally came out. Rachel's mom is not her mom. Rachel's real mom is a makeout woman. Mind equals blown. Chloe, the wacky yet lovable. Chloe. And we're back here. What's your objective? Be with Rachel. Oh. Will we spend the night? That's interesting. Can we possibly refuse to elope? Presumably, let's not go. If I go upstairs right now and not talk with anyone, if you don't get if you don't have to left click over there to go upstairs, and I just go upstairs automatically, I'm going to be so upset.
Hard to argue that Rachel would have had a better life with Sarah. But does that make what James did right?
Yes it does. Yes it does. He was desperately trying to shield her from plenty of bad things that would have that I can see in any way, shape, or form helping anyone to any extent whatsoever, what would you have done? Would you have refused to intervene?
This seems like a James and Rose bookshelf. I can't imagine Sarah here instead.
Well?
This... I can't leave Rachel to deal with this alone.
Well, I guess you're not coming back home, are you?
I hope tonight hasn't messed up Rachel's memories of family trips like this. Whoa. Sarah Gearhart is a known associate of that psycho who attacked Drew? Then again, so is Frank.
Yes. Well... you could just...
Rachel only knew half the truth when she set that fire. What if she'd known everything?
Fire grows despite insurgency efforts, yeah. But yeah, that is indeed a very good point. Started that fire, and she was ignorant. Look at the table smashed.
Holy shit. Rachel completely destroyed that table.
Any remarks on this?
I guess there's worse things than growing up around fancy stuff like this.
Wow, when people say puts everything in perspective, I guess you could put everything in perspective.
It's so weird to look at this now. I can't even imagine how she must be feeling. Hey, Mrs. Amber.
I think it's Rose at this point, considering everything.
Okay, Rose.
Well, I could say sorry about tonight. Well, it's not like it's your fault. Do you need any help? I could try to clean up the mess, you know.
Do you need any help with anything?
That's very kind of you. Could you get out the broom for me? It's in the breezeway. Door to the left of the fridge.
Gladly. But I need to do a couple more things first. Well, you know, we could just apologize to James as well. What about the computer?
The Tempest show feels so far away now.
Wait, have we read this one? Congrats to the wonderful cast and crew of the Tempest. Sorry, I'm sorry, guys. Emergency came up. Love you guys. I'm so sorry. Why sorry? You can't control the file. Wait. We have been first, haven't we? Or do you? Chloe held it down like a champ. Any update on how Drew's doing? Recovering. We're going to see him first thing tomorrow.
This is so painful to look at. Wonder what James is thinking right now.
Ask him.
This must be hard for you too, Mr. Amber.
It could be far worse. My biggest fear is that Rachel will try to meet Sarah. I've dreaded it.
So that's why you never told her?
You have no idea what pain Sarah's caused.
Sitting on the
her
table.
Addiction has led her to do terrible things.
Can you?
I don't want Rachel to go through any of that.
You could glibly say, hey, shouldn't that be up to Rachel? Look, he doesn't want to risk things. And I get that. It does sound pretty bad, doesn't it? Because the idea is you could, hypothetically, put things in front of Rachel and give her the opportunity to ruin her life. Or you could not do that. Now, obviously, if she makes all the right choices, there's nothing to be afraid of. Is there? She makes all the right choices, she avoids temptations, she leads a reasonable life, everything goes just fine, and, well, hey, maybe she comes off even stronger out of the entire experience. But if she doesn't, and the entire thing could have been avoided in the first place, then isn't that even better? Isn't it better not to present her with this sort of a challenge which largely can just lead to harm or basically nothing? So I get it, I ultimately get it. What are you afraid of?
I don't understand. Are you afraid that Sarah would do something to Rachel?
I don't think she would deliberately harm anyone.
Okay.
But addicts can cause tremendous harm without meaning to.
Yeah. But Rachel's not a baby anymore.
Listen to me. Sarah brought criminals and drug dealers into our home. She put Rachel in serious danger just to chase her habit.
Do you think Sarah is involved with any of the drug dealers around here?
She is.
It wouldn't surprise me if she were. That's who she is. Chloe.
Help him.
I believe Rachel
Confess.
trusts you more than anyone else right now.
Is this where you ask me to manipulate Rachel into doing what you want?
This is where I ask you to do as your conscience dictates. But please, put my daughter's safety first.
I understand the cynical approach over here of Chloe Price, but there's a decent burden on her shoulders. What sort of risks are you willing to take exactly? The worst part about all of this is that I intuitively want to shield her from Sarah's influence, whatever that might be. But on the other hand, well, that means we will not untangle the mystery all too much, doesn't it? And this, I think this will have consequences. Or at the very least what I do with this. Because this is just a promise. Now whether I keep it or not, that's another matter entirely. Well, not entirely, I guess. So this is a decision. Do I want to allow her to meet up with Sarah or do I not? I think I should keep her away. I think I should keep them separate. Yeah, at which point Sarah does become this homeless woman, I guess, and they never meet. I don't know what the canonical ending over here is. But yeah, put her safety first. I will.
That is something I will always do.
She's so young. You are too. But I know you've experienced loss. Protect her from that. Please.
I'll do what I can. I care about her too, you know?
I know. Thank you.
I know this sounds like the most idiotic thing you can possibly do given all the circumstances, but she does have insider information on Derek and on Frank. Now she'd be... well, she'd be, it would be a monumental, media-sized impact she'd be making. But she could just tell the DA everything she knows about the criminal element over here. And he might be able to clean things up to a greater or lesser extent. And maybe they'd let Frank go off easy if he were to, you know, be willing to cooperate, rat out Damon and all that. I think that would be the way to go. It's obviously not what Chloe is going to do, is it? I mean, it's throwing Frank under the bus to an enormous extent.
Rachel took that pretty hard.
I'm depending on you
I
to
should see
keep
if she's
Rachel
okay.
safe, Chloe.
Why did you say that? And now we have it over our heads, don't we? I'm depending on you to keep Rachel safe. We know she's going to die. And then Chloe is going to blame herself for the rest of time. We can't save her. I wish we could, but we can't save her. There's nothing we can do. What?
Hey, cool graphic. Rachel was really getting rid of this?
What? What do you what? Take the t-shirt? What's wrong with you?
Rachel's got good taste.
What a surprise. Instead of asking, can you just mop up? No, you can't. I am here to receive further instructions.
Were you able to find the
I
bird?
should check on Rachel. Here you go.
All you know, you could just
Thank you.
personally help.
I'm really quite glad that you're here.
Well, why sounds like such a stupid thing to say, but it's what I want to say because I genuinely curious. Why are you glad? I am also glad that I'm here, but why? Let's go with why.
Thanks. But why?
While Rachel's dealing with all of this, it's a relief to know she can talk to you. How are you doing, Chloe?
How am I doing?
I'm kind of
Your generation loves to talk about how awkward different things are. Well, this must be pretty awkward, I'd imagine.
Well, I'm doing better than Rachel. I understand that this is going to take quite a toll on her. I'm just trying to help.
It's fine. Rachel's the one who's really upset.
She has every reason to be. There are many painful things about Rachel's past, including my own role in hiding the truth.
Don't blame yourself. Your role in hiding the truth. Divert blame. Do you want to blame James or do you want to blame Sarah? Well, Sarah's the punching bag here easily. It's like, look, you don't have yourself to blame. Like, oh, right, of course you hid the truth. Well, guess what? There are people responsible for the truth being what it is.
Sarah shouldn't have taken money over seeing her daughter.
You know, I am so thankful to her that she did.
That's also a good point.
Gave me the opportunity to be Rachel's mother. I never knew how much I could love someone until I had Rachel.
But hearing the truth after all these years hurt Rachel more than anything.
I'm not happy with James for the whole way this came out.
Well, what was he supposed to do?
Not happy with James? What about what he did at the Overlook?
Who cares?
It might be hard for you to understand, but after 13 years of marriage, I'm not threatened by what happened.
You're right. I don't understand.
Indeed, you don't.
You don't have to worry about me or James. Rachel's the one who needs you right now.
Do you think Sarah is dangerous?
I've never met her, so I don't know. But I'm inclined to trust my husband. His entire life is about keeping people safe. Rachel's extremely fortunate to have him as her father.
Thanks.
Thank you, Chloe.
She's going to die because of drugs. She's going to die because Chloe's not gonna be there to save her. But yeah, that is a very good point as well. It's like, listen, after 13 years of marriage, I am not threatened by that guy giving a single kiss to another woman, all right? And you may not necessarily understand that. And indeed, it may seem strange. Well, hold on, don't you feel like, you know, there's the chance that you're gonna get replaced? No. The guy spent 13 years with his wife over here. You could figure, oh my goodness, well, that ultimately means that it's no longer as exciting to be around her. There's no more this sense of adventure, etc. So he may feel possibly inclined to ditch her and start something new, etc. Or he may start cheating on her. That completely misses out on a very important aspect of all of this, namely that they have spent so long together, they know each other like no one else.
Better head upstairs. I don't think Rachel really wants to be alone.
They have a bond that is basically impossible to replicate, if purely on the basis of the amount of time committed to nurturing that bond. Unless you spend years, in this case 13, doing nothing, not communicating, not, growing together, not learning things together, not going closer to one another, etc. Unless you actually basically do nothing throughout all of this time, you presumably are going to develop a sense of closeness and understanding that is so incredible that whatever, even the guy could have some sort of a fling on the side, and it might sting, it might be frustrating, sure, fair enough, but he's got a home to come back to, someone who knows him like the back of her hand, and the value in that is so absolutely immense that it's not just social coercion that forces them to just focus on this stability.
Better head upstairs.
And it's not even...
I don't think Rachel really wants to be alone.
I mean, you could describe it as a force of habit, but still.
You're welcome to stay here as long as you need to.
Now, of course, this may all sound very, very plain and disappointing, very unexciting. Oh my goodness. Speaking up in favor of stability of a marriage. Wow. Can there be anything more pedestrian? I know we can't leave. Yeah, we have to go upstairs. There's basically nothing else for us to do here. What is the next thing we tag? Land of the Freaks. Some sort of a brick wall. Well, I'll deal with that momentarily. Howdy, unrepentant and eccentric rebel that I am, singing praise of stable, monogamous marriage. Oh, I wish I could reconcile these things, but I already have enough on my plate as it is. To see me soothe and wax philosophical, as is my right. Watch the next part of my Life is Strange Before the Storm playthrough. Thanks for watching so far, and you will see me elsewhere.